When did architecturally beautiful and artistic details on public buildings like this school get replaced with crappy design? Seriously, how do we go from craftsmanship, proportion, and timeless architecture to random additions that look like they were designed with no respect for the original building? Today, we're looking at a middle school that once had a cohesive architectural identity. I'll show you what it looked like when it was first built compared to what it looks like today, and break down how years of renovations and so-called quote-unquote modern improvements have actually made this building look worse in some ways, not better. Let's see exactly where it all went wrong. This is a local high school built in the 50s or the 60s. You can see the linear details, mid-century era architecture. What's really fascinating about this is the scale, the roof scale, the columns, the symmetry. You can see it's 6 columns there, and they're all the same size. And they're not meant to be ornate. They're more just was a nod to modernism of the time. Now, one of the things I do have an issue with, well, first, let me show you something that's really cool that you don't see much anymore. Lighting was a really big consideration for a lot of buildings in this era. And as you can see here on the backside, this was meant to be subtle, like you saw it, at night or during the game. I think this is like maybe a side entrance to one of the main floors. But you can see the sconces here that are midway in between the top and the bottom. And they shine up and down to accentuate the columns, which is a really cool detail. You don't see things like that. Everybody's throwing in just kind of lighting that doesn't really match the design or the elegance, the subtle elegance, I'll say, of a lot of the buildings here. One thing I do have an issue with, and I know why they did this, this door. This is not an original door. That's not an original window. A lot of high schools, they change the designs where the doors are able to be closed very easily and not open from the outside. But what happens here is that it took away, I think the original door was from here, from the bottom to the top of where the camera is. And so what they did was they did a not so good job of integrating the brick. Because this looks like this used to be a taller door, or it may be like a clerestory window above the door. In any event, it changes the design sensibility because it's supposed to match the top section, but it actually stops from the top of the door to the bottom section. If you get what I'm saying, it doesn't go from the porch area or this area here to the to the bottom of the horizontal concrete piece there. I wish they would have done something that was more in keeping, but a lot of times people, they just get the contractor or whatever just to do his best job as he can to fill the space with no really, thought to design. That's one thing. Here's another, kind of sort of a similar thing here. You can see here, at some point over time, just like in the other section I showed you, is they modernized the windows, which I don't have an issue with, but you can tell that the original windows, and there's separation, you can't really see, but where the gutter is, there's other columns there that are repeated down the whole volume. And as you can also see here, where they modernized the windows, they took out larger windows that let in a lot more light for each classroom. Those 2 windows are 2 separate classrooms. And so what happens is that each space has, again, a lot less window or light entry than they did before. But what's happened here, what I wish they would have done here is if they were going to put brick here, they would have kept with the same brick pattern. But instead, it's very obvious that this was fill in, and you can see here because of the lintel here above actually above all of them, where it starts from the corner all the way here, the steel angle that would support. Or supposed to be where it transfers the weight from the structure above to the sides of the windows. That's still there. You can hardly see it, but you can kind of see it there. Up at the top, how it goes from that corner all the way to right here. And then again, you can see how the bricks, this is an addition. They don't even line up correctly, which, don't expect it to, but they could have done a better job of just making it blend in. But this is an example of what I'm talking about, how they took something that had great alignment. It also was functional by letting more light in and turned it into something. Design-wise, I don't mind it. I just wish the execution would have been just a little bit better. Now, this is the same building or the same school, just a different part of the building. It's the gymnasium, as you can see. But look at some of the neat details. Look at the top row, how the pattern. The horizontal pattern that goes from left to right with symmetrical blocks and separation in between. And then look at the columns. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns with equal spacing in between. And then you go down to the lower section where the covering or the overhang is, and it goes from 6 columns to actually 3 spaces. You can see the 3 middle spaces. How if you look at the 3 middle spaces at the top, this lower section where it says gymnasium, it fits within those 1, 2, 3 columns, but within 3 volumes in between. That's really interesting because it's a good execution of symmetry. It's not haphazard. It was designed this way. And then you can see the columns too. They mimic the ones behind them, and they go into a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 column, kind of repeating the columns right behind them. But I think it's just a really cohesive design language that is often not repeated today. Here's another vantage point of what I was trying to describe, how there's the lower volume, it's reduced down to the spaces in between those 4 columns, three spaces in between those 4 columns, how it fits neatly in between. Here's another detail that most people wouldn't notice, just because it's kind of doesn't really stand out to the average person, but I see this very clearly. You can see the horizontal band, the brick band. They are oriented perpendicular to the larger areas above and below it. That band follows. It goes around the whole building just to create some visual separation. It's also here at the top, and it's 3 rows too, set vertically. Really nice detail just to break up and just have just a very, kind of subtle design flair to it. This band comes around, as you can see, it goes around at the same height all the way around. It mimics or is aligned with this horizontal concrete section here too, which is a really good job. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like, what the modernized area of this is, so you can see the contrast. One more thing before I get to the newer structure. One thing I do appreciate here is that they didn't take the brick in this section all the way down to the ground. They stopped it just a few, looks like about 3.5 feet above ground, just to create just a slight visual interest layer there that goes around from this corner all the way around at the same height as the stairs. It's just a good design, just really subtle design feature that most people wouldn't recognize, but it's very thoughtful and sensible. It was a departure. You see, it goes around here as well. This is what was a departure from more traditional architecture that preceded it, where buildings were more stately, they were more classic, more traditional. Having this layer removed was just more about having a more streamlined, a more modern take on public buildings, and I think this is just a very good design detail that would mostly go unnoticed. This is where it gets a little tricky, and I'm not really sure what to think about it. This is a modern addition or facelift to the existing building. As you can see here in the lower corner, they had the stone or block pediment at the bottom of what looks to be an attempt to create like an aluminum framed column, or what's supposed to look like a column. It doesn't really match that lower area that I showed you there at the bottom of the existing building. But just look, I mean, look at the windows. The windows, I mean, they're storefront style windows. Don't really have an issue with that. It's in keeping with what they've done to the other areas. I just don't like this aluminum piece, this wrap, or whatever this is supposed to evoke, maybe like a column of some sort. They kept some of the original columns here, as you can see, but just not really sure what these are trying to do here. And don't really find the block. I mean, it's constructed well and it looks like it's executed well. It just doesn't really do anything architecturally to this building. And then here, this is the entrance. This is how you approach this this building. There's a ramp there, of course, for accessibility. But look at even like the address numbers. I'm not gonna focus on those too much, but I'm not really sure the direction of what they're trying to accomplish here. It just doesn't look cohesive with the existing structure. It doesn't. I'm not really sure even what it's supposed to. What kind of style it's supposed to be. Not really sure. There's another detail that nobody or most people would probably not even care about. But when I see the gutter system, you can just look and see that it's not really, I mean, it was more an afterthought. I wish they would have maybe done something different, maybe had it off to the side where it was kind of obscure, but not kind of right in your face. As you look at it from the beginning. I mean, this is how you experience it. It's the same thing on the other side as well. Remember what I said too earlier about how lighting was incorporated in a kind of subtle, kind of elegant type of way. These are lights that look like like you'd find in maybe like a parking lot to a stadium or an arena. I mean, they're more utilitarian and not design oriented. This is purely functional, but you can't miss them. They stick out like sore thumbs. Not really sure what how this design was picked, but I would have rather, if they were to do something like this to kind of make it modernized, I would prefer like maybe like recessed LED lighting, just to give like a soft glow behind, or that washed on the wall. The walls there all the way across. I think that would have been a better execution than whatever this is supposed to be. I'll end it here. This is the another side of that same modernization attempt on this school. You can see the new section to the left and how it integrates with the side right next to it. Not really sure. It looks like, it looked like they started out with a great idea and maybe decided to cut the budget in quarter, or cut it in fourths, and just went with that. It was lower, I guess it was enough to get some kind of impact and make it appear to be, competitive with other schools that are much newer. This is not I mean, it's still in great shape. It's maintained well. I think they did this as an attempt to, just kind of make it look just a little bit more fresh. Windows can do that all by itself. I don't think they needed to do this aluminum cladding. Tell me what you think in the comments, and why do you think buildings like this school, start out with good design and good design details and turn out with something like this that's not really good? Just to close the gap or the question on the secondary hole, I had to refer to a manual just to refresh myself of what it was for. So so the one to the left is the primary water removal system. Goes down, there's its own gutter, flows down there. If something happens where this is plugged up, like with leaves or whatever, it's not evacuating the water as fast enough. This is a relief spout, and that's where you see these on flat roofs. So this is where that line is, the bottom of that opening is where the roof the roof is. So this is what they call a parapet wall around around the school to make it appear larger than what it is. But if you were on top of the roof, you'd be able to see that the actual roof, the top of the roof is actually at the bottom of that relief scupper there. And this brings me back to the point about the design. A lot of flat roof structures 50, 60 years ago, they integrated the drains so that they were obscure. They were built into it. You would normally see them on the inside wall, and it would drain through piping or through pipes that were routed through the walls away from the structure. Whereas some of the retrofits or even in new construction, they don't build them that way often. They have them external just because it's easier. It's easier to do it, but easier doesn't mean better. In this case, the addition that I showed you up front is just, I mean, most people wouldn't care about it. You know, they don't even think about it. But good design should always be at the forefront and not an afterthought. And I'll just end it there, just because I think it's just, you know, I don't want to, I guess belabor the fact that design has changed for the worst in a lot of circumstances. But there's still some good design around. You just have to look for it.